Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Well, it's day 5 of my week of work in the summer vegetable garden. Over the last 4 days I've done quite a bit of work and created a big pile of garden waste. So to deal with all of that, today we're going to make a compost. Before we get started on making the new compost, I have to sort out the 3 compost bins that are here already. This one is the one I've been grabbing compost from for my garden. Now there's just a small amount of compost here, but what I like to do with that is just get all of that fine compost off the bottom of the area and put it in a bucket, and I usually sieve that and I use the compost then for seed raising, and I've found that that really helps the seeds along enormously. Now this one I'll flip then into there, and the third one, which is the newest compost, I'll flip into this bin so that the new compost can be made down the end. So for the moment I'm just going to scrape the top off, and then before I do my potting mix I will sift all of this. So I'm just getting the sort of the top layer, and I just try to avoid getting into the soil, but just getting all of this beautiful stuff, which is perfect once you get it sieved. Now I've got some of that gold saved, I'm going to get this one flipped into there. There's some evidence of little bush rats. I have quite a few little rats in the front garden, and they often like to make a home in my compost. So that is one of the reasons I do like to kind of flip them every so often, just to move everyone on. Now when I'm flipping, I do try and get the drier outer edges of the compost into the middle first, before moving all the sort of more decomposed centre area, and that can go on the outside in the new pile. There's all the workers there. They're busy in this pile. Got that bin all empty now and flipped into this one. Now that compost is decomposing nicely, but I'll give it a bit more time, and that will allow all that dry material that we put in first to moisten up and decompose. And I'm just going to chuck all this cardboard back on top. It kind of helps to keep the moisture in. It was a one solid piece when I put it on. And now we'll just do the same with this one and flip it into this bin. I built this compost a month or so ago. You can see it's sort of dried out on the edges. So I'll see if it needs any more moisture once we've flipped it. I didn't really cut down the pieces very small, so it might be challenging to move, but I find chopping it all up just takes a lot of time, and I don't always have that time. I've still got the little thermometer in the middle, and just in the green section it did heat up quite a bit initially. So we'll see how we go moving this one, but I'm anticipating a bit of a workout. You can see all the life scurrying about in this compost. They were underneath that fairly dry layer, and this is more the manure layer. I did water this down really well. Oh, there's some of my green plums. Looks like they've ripened in the compost. So we'll get this moved now. Yeah, a lot harder when you haven't cut up all your material to flip it. This bay's as empty as I'm going to get. I don't mind having a little bit of the old compost waiting for the new one to be built. It just helps it get started, really. Now this compost, it looked quite dry on the outside, but this is what the bottom layer looked like, and it's decomposing really well. There is quite a lot of moisture in there, and I don't think I need to add anything else to it, but I will get a bit of cardboard and cover that over just to make sure that moisture stays in place. So now we can get on to building the new compost. Now I've got my old garden waste here from the last few days and some from previous as well. I've also harvested the rest of the comfrey that was down in my veggie patch, and that's all there. You can see the difference between the fresh stuff, and this is the comfrey that I harvested the other day, which is already decomposing. I have been out to the pasture and collected a few buckets of manure, so I think we're ready to build. I'm just going to start the compost with some of the running grasses. I really want them to be exposed to heat, so it really kills the roots. So I'm getting a lot of those in first, or in the lower layers. And I'll chuck in some of my fresh comfrey and some manure. There's going to be a lot of nitrogen in the compost pile from all the garden waste, so I like to add in plenty of shredded wood chips and branches and stuff to balance it out and increase the carbon. And once I've got a few layers in, I'll just make sure I get it really moist. Then I just keep layering it up. I generally try and spread the manure around. Ooh, a nice big fat worm in our compost pile. Look at that one for beauty. It's like a little snake. I'll pop him back in. There you go, mate. There he goes. And a bit more water. Pretty basic method of containment, but it seems to work okay. Now I can get to filling it right up. Just a couple of layers left to go, one of which I nearly forgot. I've been helping out at an alpaca shearing day for a couple of days and still got a couple more to go. And rather than sending all of this to landfill, I offered to compost it. I do have other piles which I'm going to use for mulching trees, but this is the bits with all the bits of manure and really contaminated fleece. So that will be good, all recycled in my compost. Now fleece and hair do add quite a bit of nitrogen to a compost, so that should break down nicely. Bit more water and a cover of cardboard and I think we're done. Well, that's just a bag of compost that's going to weight down the cardboard. Now, I will be adding some of the garden trimmings that I didn't quite fit in today as it sinks a little bit over the next 3 or 4 days. And then I'll be flipping it all out once it's hot and then back in again. And then generally I'll let it sit there for a while. I will flip it down the track like I have done with these other two just to get the edges in and make sure they're decomposing as well. But other than that, you know, a few flips and that's good to go in my book. I hope you've enjoyed day 5. If you haven't seen day 1 to 4, I'll leave a link to a playlist. Thanks so much for watching and bye for now.